Florida got beat by Arkansas yesterday. Here's how big a surprise this was. Trey Biddy did his walk and talk for Hogs 24/7 or Hog Sports, and he wasn't even in the swamp. He's just in a nondescript location. I think there was a park in the background. I saw those frisbee golf nets in the background. 39-36, Florida upset by Arkansas in overtime. And I don't really like to be the I told you so kind, but did we not just flat out call this on the Thursday show in the upset alert section? The line was 5.5. I never understood the public sentiment on this game last week. People were looking at it and saying, boy, if Arkansas were to pull this off, what? It's a very mild upset. I didn't get it. I really didn't get it. The line dropped to 3 before kickoff. Why would that have been a major upset? Florida is not a good team. Neither is Arkansas. The difference is Arkansas was underrated because of that. I'm not going to keep saying I told you guys because that gets really redundant. But we have spoken about this. You and I have spoken about Arkansas. So the whole thing about this is now it's raising a lot of questions about Billy Napier. Well, they were already raised. It is massively turning up the volume, amplifying, if you will, those questions. Sub 500 year one, pacing for 5-7 in year two. No, never mind. That was Mike Norvell. That was current undefeated head coach of Florida State, Mike Norvell, that did that his first 2 years. Why do I mention that? Because William Napier, you might know him as Billy, looks like he's about to do the same thing. Sub 500 his first year, 5-7, thereabouts. His second year, and that's being used and packaged and sent to me as evidence that they need to fire him. He's not going to be fired. Billy Napier's not getting fired. I'll bet you money on that. I don't know that FanDuel has a prop on it, but I'll bet you money on that. He's not getting worse week by week either. I don't know if you understand how this works. He's not forgetting the football he once knew. It's just that games are happening, outcomes are happening. It is what it is right now. His future is not tied to 2023. His future is tied to the 2024 season and that 2024 recruiting class and DJ Lagway. And everybody knows it. And if you don't, I'm telling you, that's the situation at Florida. So right now they got a top 5 recruiting class. That's it. They got a premier quarterback in that class in Lagway. That's it. They got a ridiculously difficult schedule next year, and you'll have to cross that bridge when you get to it. It is hard to rebuild in the SEC. It's hardest to do it in this conference. I'm not saying it's easy elsewhere, but like what Jed Fish is doing at Arizona, hat tip to him, is a little bit easier to do out there because the personnel along the lines of scrimmage are different in such a way that there are changes away from the ball that sometimes are the difference in 3 or 4 games, whereas down here, the attrition and line of scrimmage talent really make it so as it's tough to rebuild. Now, if you doubt that, I will also tell you those words are not necessarily mine. It is a well-known coach, not affiliated with Florida, a well-known coach that I talked to about that today because I wanted his opinion on Florida. I'm not telling you it's going to work, by the way. A lot of times when I'll do segments like this, get a little worked up, people will take that to mean there he goes defending whoever. In this case, there he goes defending Billy Napier. I got no clue if it's going to work. I don't know. I've never said otherwise. I'm just telling you he's not going to get fired. He shouldn't get fired. It's incredibly short-sighted to advocate for that kind of approach, knowing full well what's happening right down the road in Tallahassee and what wouldn't be happening if they pulled the plug after a couple of subpar years at the outset of Mike Norvell's tenure in Tallahassee. And I'm also telling you 2024 is where rubber meets road, and that 2024 recruiting class with that quarterback is where rubber meets road. And a few staff changes and Lagway being the real deal at quarterback, and all of a sudden, boom. And a lot of you are going back and deleting tweets and deleting message board posts like they're doing at Michigan right now. You got a lot of folks defending Jim Harbaugh to the absolute death who called for him to be fired a few years ago. Here's the thing. You get to do that as much as you want to on Twitter. You get to do that stuff as much as you want to on your message board. But if you're the actual AD, you don't get the redo. When you fire the guy, he's fired. And then your program may rebound or it may go in a tailspin and disappear for the next 15 years. So unlike people who have the fortune or the ability to change their opinion week to week on this stuff, you got to be really sure if you're the actual decision maker.